Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Always lovely to have you here. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago. Wherever you are, I hope it is likewise lovely. So, today we are going to talk with a guest that I'm telling you, I am such a big fan of yoga. I used to practice yoga regularly, or I had a yoga practice that I would engage in regularly. And then kids and family and work and everything else just sort of, nudged it out. And I was just explaining to our lovely guest, whom I will introduce in a moment, that we just did a retreat, some colleagues and I over the weekend, and it was a yoga retreat. I have not felt that great in, I can't tell you when. We've had some stressful things going on at home. There's a lot of stress in the world, illness at home, just some other things. And boy, with just 1 hour of yoga, I felt like a different human, and that's not hyperbole. So I'm so excited to have our guest today. Launora is a dedicated yoga practitioner with over 8 years of experience. She helps women restore their sense of self and feel more at home in their bodies through yoga, meditation, and one-on-one yoga therapy. And we're going to talk about yoga therapy and what that is. With over 8 years of dedicated practice, Launora brings a compassionate and practical approach to wellness, specializing in chair yoga, which is great for, I think, folks who can't or don't want to get on the floor, but you can tell us more about that later, or it can be useful probably for anybody, and mindful movement that meets people exactly where they are. Her own daily practice is rooted in the belief that striving to be the best version of herself allows her to better support those she teaches. When she's not guiding clients, you'll usually find her walking outdoors, spending time with her loved ones, or indulging in something sweet. Oh, okay, you are a human after my own heart. All of those things sound fabulous.
Mhm.
Welcome, Launora. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Namaste. So, since we began with namaste, will you please explain to our listeners what namaste means and then tell us if
Namaste. Sure. Namaste is I bow to you. So, we all can stay humble and just honoring one another.
mm,
Mm.
lovely. Yeah. I love beginning and ending a yoga class or yoga practice with that. It's lovely. So, so Lenora, will you please tell us a bit about yoga therapy? What is it? How is it similar to or different than just a typical yoga class? And then we have core power yoga and hot yoga and yoga with stones. I mean, there's exercise strengthening tone yoga. So, what is yoga therapy and how is it different than all of those other wonderful but different variations?
Sure. So, the yoga class and the other variations that you listed off, they are usually one person guiding, and the class is following the same sequence. Yoga therapy is tailored with yoga tools. So, breath work, meditation, asana, or movement. And that's specific to you and your needs and meeting you are where you are right now. And it's just specific. So, I ask you questions. Where's your pain? Do you have any challenges? And then we create a sequence in our session together that's specific for you and your needs.
Hmm. So this would be one-on-one, or is this done in a group?
One on one.
That's lovely. So you would sit down with a person, like a therapist would sit down with any other
Mhm.
therapist, would
Right.
sit down with someone, and you would ask where their pain is, or maybe have a bit of a conversation, and then you would design
Right.
together perhaps what would be happening in the session that day.
Yes, design it with them because we'll be doing some movements. And if they're in any pain, we adjust right away. So with yoga therapy, it isn't no pain, no gain. It is no pain, no pain. So if you're in any pain, we adjust and do something different. And then there are a few poses, or it could just be, I just want to learn meditation, or I just, anything. It doesn't have to be all sorts of movement. But with emotions, we tend to suppress. And so we're trying to move that emotion out and away from where that pain is right now. So that's where that sequence comes about, creating it in the session with the client.
Mm, that sounds lovely. Yeah, it sounds very collaborative.
It is.
And that you're in it together. Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
in psychotherapy, people can say, well, I feel like I'm doing all the talking and the therapist is just sitting there, which, by the way, folks, sometimes there is a place for that, but hopefully your therapist is more engaged. But this is very collaborative.
Yes, yeah, it is a collaboration, Margot. It is, like I said, ask you your question or ask you questions, what your goals are, where your pain is, and then that's how we begin forming that sequence together in the session.
Hmm. And then you said you might use breath work, you
Mhm.
might use, they're called poses or postures or movements, I think. I mean, please correct me, you are the expert on this. So it would be an individual session where the two of you collaborate, you come up with a plan for the day, and it's primarily movement. And of course, we know people's minds and bodies are one, not one
Right.
or the other. So the movement, how does that become therapy?
Oh, that's such a good question. So first off, yoga, it means to unite. Mind, body, soul, breath work. And then the ultimate goal with yoga is to learn to calm your mind in every aspect of our day, our life, phases through our lives. So that I wanted to make that as like a foundation for our conversation of what yoga really is, like the definition. And then how does movement form into like therapy? Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay, so say, for example, you have pain in your neck or your shoulders, and you come to me and you tell me what's going on in your life because I also ask you what your routine is, morning, evening, what's going on in the house, at work, and so forth. And you may come into the conversation of, I've been so stressed because A, B, and C. Well, our body has a tendency of holding that tension in our shoulders, in our neck, possibly even in our backs, our wrists. It just depends. So, a lot of these emotions are held in our body. And with movement, with yoga therapy, we work around the pain. So, say your shoulders are in pain. We don't hit to the shoulders, we don't touch the shoulders. If you're in pain in our session, we work around it. So we work with your neck, your lower back, and hopefully we'll get that movement at ease. And we're just moving around that energy away and from the area of concern.
Hmm. Which
Mhm.
is a lovely, lovely experience, right? So I love the no pain, no pain. We're not trying to go in there and, which
No.
massage, I'm a big lover of massage, but boy, they just go right
Mhm.
for the place that hurts.
They do like, and also like physical therapists. I've had, we've all had PT after whatever it is, surgery or what have you. And physical therapists are a little bit more, they go straight to the area of concern. Yoga therapists, we work around.
Mm,
Mhm.
lovely. And so as I'm doing my session, and I'm not just diving into the pain, but we're working around the pain, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? Like at the end of a session, what am I hoping? Am I going to walk out feeling restored, refreshed? Might I have some emotional release? What might I expect?
All of that, Margot. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's one of my first questions with my clients or even prospects. What is the goal that you want to see after leaving our session? And a lot of my sessions are online, just like what you and I are doing. And
Hmm.
so that's what anything that feels lighter or you'll feel, like you have something accomplished because we all have a tendency of, did I do enough today? And so with yoga therapists, we actually give you a sheet of paper. We give you your sequence. So you're leaving with something tangible. You're not
Mm,
leaving I just let my heart out and there's nothing. You get that
mm,
sequence with you. We stay in contact, how's everything going type of, scenario. We stay with our clients, with them throughout their journey. It's like we're a
mm,
pillow for them. And whenever they need us, they can just contact us. So I want them to
mm,
feel all of what you said, but in lighter and that they have someone to support them.
mm. I'll tell you, boy, it's something that I hear from people a lot in the world right now, and I'm sure you do as well. People don't feel supported as much. as I think, I always sound kind of like an old fogey when I say this, but boy, back in the day, people
Mhm.
felt like I think community was different and community is very virtual right now. And I think seeing you virtually is different. That's not what I mean. It's like I'm talking about scrolling community and likes and
Right.
that sort of thing. All has its place, but I wouldn't say people generally feel supported. So part of what you're trying to accomplish is to be that support, to be that pillow. So, how often do you see your clients, or do they see you, or do you work together?
I am trying to work every day. So I have a schedule right now from Monday to Thursday. But of course, a lot of people work from Monday to Friday. They only have weekends off, but weekends is when, that's their family time. So I do this every day, Margot. I don't have another
Okay.
career focus. Like this is it. So I do this every day.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah.
And if a client is working with you, how often will they typically schedule with you?
Once I mean, it just depends how they feel. So after their session with me, say it's for their neck, and we give them a sequence and they have this, tangible paper, I may contact them 2 weeks to a month out and see how they're doing. Because when you get that tangible piece of paper, I expect you to work at it. It's not just here's your, prescription and now, you're healed. No, you have to work at it. Your body is your home. Your
Mm,
mind, your emotional well-being, that's your responsibility still. So I'm here to
mm,
guide you, but you have to go home and work at it every day. So what we say is 6 days is an A, 5 days is a B, 4 days is a C, 3 days is and so forth. So try to work
mm,
at it every day. If 6 days is at A, that one day you get off. And that sequence can literally take you like 5 to 7 minutes. It doesn't
mm.
take you a whole day. You don't need an hour, but it just depends on your schedule. And I try to work with women's schedule. Do you prefer it in the morning? Do you prefer it in the evening, afternoon? Because we all have our own schedules. Everyone's set differently.
Absolutely. I love that it's 5 to 7 minutes spread out over the course of 6 days. That's not a huge commitment of time. I like to start my day with spinal twists. I understand that twists are great for resetting the nervous system. So I
Mhm.
put my arms out on either side, my head turns one way, my knees flop the other. Well, I
Okay.
lay them. I want to be
Right.
careful with language. I don't go boom, but lay them. And what a great way to start the day. And I
Yeah.
just feel like I have more energy when I get out of bed. So people can do it before they even let their feet hit the floor if it's 5 minutes
Yes.
or 7 minutes.
Literally, I've told people you can do this sequence on your bed if you want to. If you
That's
just
great.
don't have the energy to get, and that's another question too. I ask my clients, can you get up and off the floor easily? If you can't, we'll stay on the chair.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do something standing. Like I said, every person is different. So I can have you, Margot, 1 hour, and the next hour could be, another woman, and she has a complete different sequence. So everyone's different. That's why yoga therapy is a beautiful thing. It is
Mm-hmm.
specialized, it's tailored just for you. And that month, we worked on her neck and she's fine. And then the next month, something happened to my ankle or what have you. So it's nonstop, it's ongoing.
Mm, I love that. So it
Yeah.
sounds like it works as best as it can with people's schedules.
Yeah.
And not unlike any type of therapy, whether it's physical therapy, psychotherapy, yoga therapy, we need to put in some work. And I'll tell you, I mean, I know with people who come to psychotherapy, they think they're going to sit down with me for an hour a week, we'll have our session, and then we're done till the next time they
Yeah.
come in or till I see them on the screen. I mean, there's hopefully some benefit to that for sure, but
Right.
thinking about what we've discussed, practicing some of the things we've talked about, doing some work in between absolutely makes the process go much more quickly and efficiently and just better. So, yoga therapy, like any other type of therapy, people will benefit much more if they can commit a bit of time each day and just schedule it in.
Yeah,
And it
that's
makes
it. That's why I like to ask, what do you have more time in the morning, the afternoon, or
Mhm.
evening? Like, how does this fit? Because the whole sequence doesn't have to be just for the morning. So if you have a set time in the morning that you could do A, or 1 through 3, and then 4 through 5, that 4 through 6, that's your evening sequence. So I can
Mhm.
build a whole day sequence for you, just adding
Mm.
little tidbits to your routine. not changing anything, but just adding little tiny benefits, a little bit more to your day.
Mhm.
And it's really
Mm.
simple too. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. It's just a little add-on to your day.
Which makes it's like little bite-sized chunks, right? We
Yes.
don't have to swallow the whole thing, it's just little bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, Lenore, we talked about, places that do hot yoga, stone yoga. There's so many different types of yoga. All of those are great, but it sounds like some of what has happened in the world of yoga is that it has become a bit of an exercise class
Yeah.
and for toning and strength. And again, all great. That's not what you're doing with people. This is more, would you call it restorative yoga? What is there a phrasing that would really capture it? People know what they're going for, or they might love those forms of yoga, but this isn't that. It's like you have Swiss cheese and cheddar. They're both cheeses, but very different in their flavor, their palate, their aging. And sorry for the comparison. I was just in Wisconsin for a weekend, so cheese is top of mind. But how would you?
I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm a cheesehead. No worries.
Okay, okay, great, perfect. So, yeah, how would you describe this type of yoga then? So, just so folks know what
Yeah.
they're looking for.
I would just call it pain relief with yoga.
Okay.
Yoga for pain relief.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Okay. And I think of it as restorative. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a word that I would think of. We're restoring
Mhm.
health, restoring peace, restoring
Right.
calm, restoring movement, restoring
Mhm.
comfort. But, again, that would be how I would describe it. So
Yeah.
pain relief, folks, who
Yes,
doesn't want
there
that?
is a restorative yoga class, and restorative yoga is just, you're in a class and it's like you're in a pose for a very long time. Like you're resting, you're comforted, you have pillows, you have bolsters around. So for the person that's never done yoga, restorative yoga would fit. For the people that know yoga, restorative yoga is a specific kind of class, like, vinyasa,
Okay.
hatha, and so forth. So restorative, I've used restorative before. I'm starting something called Restore Her. It's in the works. And so, restore is a beautiful word. It's just restorative yoga is an actual form. It's like hatha yoga, vinyasa,
Oh,
and so forth. So, restorative is like a class, with bolsters, and you're lying in like butterfly pose or a fish pose as well. You're lying on a bolster with pillows, and you're just in a pose for a very long time. That could be
mm,
also, yeah, restorative.
okay. See, this is why it's good to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is really for pain relief. That's part of
Mhm.
what you're working for, psychological and physical.
Pain relief, help you reduce stress, and techniques for better sleep.
Mm, okay, folks. And again, it sounds like women are your
Yes.
primary focus.
Client.
And
Mhm.
boy, don't we know it that sleep can be a thing. And not that men don't or people who are non binary, but by and large, with hormones and being a mom and
Mhm.
going through
Mhm.
menopause or perimenopause or whatever, having a toddler, I mean, sleep is tough to come by.
Mhm.
So, what would you say, Lenora, are some myths that people might not be aware of when they think about yoga and especially the type of yoga that you are practicing?
The one word that comes to mind is woo woo. People think yoga is like a religious based, and it's really not, Margot. You can bring your religion into your practice. You can make it a religious practice. Yoga, again, is to calm your mind. That's the goal. And so it's not a religious, spiritual practice, but it can be if you want it to because it's specific to you. And that's just yoga in general. Yoga therapy, okay, but even if I go to a yoga class, God's always with me, the universe is always with me, my higher power is always with me. So wherever you go, whoever your higher power is, they're with you, no matter what you're doing. So
Mm,
that's one. Another one would be, you have to be fit or you have to be in the yoga community and you don't even have to have ever done yoga before to have a yoga session or a yoga
mm,
therapy session or even yoga as well. You know, that's why it's called a practice.
mm-hmm, mm. I love that. Right. So it's called a practice. Will you say a little bit more about that? Why is it called a yoga practice? Don't I ever get it right? Do I always have to practice?
But it's part of your journey, it's part of you. Yoga is for it's for your overall well-being. And so we practice every day of being mindful of our daily day to day, and we're trying to be the best that we were, yes, from yesterday to today. We're not competing with anybody. It's me and me, how I was yesterday to where I am today.
Mm,
And you just
I love
practice like
that.
we're practicing gratitude. We've heard that saying multiple times
Mhm.
nowadays, and it is a practice. This life is a practice. And we only get one
Every
shot.
day.
So let's just do what we can. Let's just do what brings us, joy and happiness. And I understand the day to day. We're all living in this 3D world. I'm not over here, just I don't have a care in the world. I'm practicing becoming more mindful and not letting these little things take over my whole day. Let's not stay in
Mm,
that spiral because we all can get into that rabbit hole.
right? It is the human brain is drawn toward that, not because there's anything wrong with us necessarily
Mhm.
as humans. It's the human condition. We're drawn to the rabbit hole, folks, meaning we can go down a place that can be dark and we can kind of be
Right.
doom scrolling or
Mhm.
worrying or whatever that. The human brain does that as a protective mechanism,
Right.
but it's overworking in our modern day world. There are no saber-toothed tigers coming at us. There's other stuff, but probably not that. I'm
Right.
probably okay sitting here in my office right now speaking with you, Launora. I don't have to be anxious, right? I don't have to be in
Mhm.
a rabbit hole. So
Right.
I love that. So, what advice would you give for someone curious but unsure if this kind of yoga therapy is right for them?
Well, Margot, I would say just start small and just take one session and ask all your questions. Ask anything that comes to mind. It doesn't have to be about your practice. It can just be about yoga therapy and so forth. And then just, if there's one thing I want anyone listening to this to take with them, is give yourself permission to slow down and receive support.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be surprised, see what comes out of it. Yeah.
And some of us are not familiar with support, and just exploring that and seeing what that feels like. What does that feel like in our bodies? What does that feel like in our
Mhm.
minds? What happens when we allow ourselves to have that support? Do we find ourselves wanting to push that away? Do we feel like we should be self-sufficient? I mean, there are so many opportunities and possibilities with this kind of practice. I think it's a really unique way because we are inviting the body into the process directly, not like our head is sitting on a shelf. Our
Right.
whole being is there. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. So, if someone wants to find a yoga therapist, how would they do so? And who covers and pays for this? And what is kind of a typical range? I'm assuming some people would be covered by insurance, but under only certain circumstances. They have a clinical license. I don't know. But so, how does that work?
Yoga therapy is becoming more common, and it really depends on if if I think they just, I mean, honestly, just Google it. I didn't know about yoga therapy until I got in more depth of my own studies. And I thought the shift that I'm feeling of how much I've changed with yoga, how it's helped me physically, mentally, emotionally, I wanted others to feel that shift as well. And I thought, okay, naturally, yoga therapy is the next step. And so I just looked online, but I also had a friend. She knew about my who I'm who my one of my teachers and other colleagues. She knew about the program, and I contacted her, and we had a like this one-to-one, and wanted to know what yoga therapy was all about and so forth. And I think it's just word of mouth. And I personally, I can talk to anyone online. I'm not in one specific state. So if that could be helpful for anybody. Insurance related, I personally do not take insurance. Some may. It just depends, I think, state to state. But I personally, it's just all online, and I work with what you can handle. I'm not on like specific, this is the payment, and then there's no,
Mhm.
there's a lot of wiggle room because I want you to feel better. Because
Hmm.
it's really hard because our bodies are really smart, Margot. They're really smart. And if we just sit for a moment, like if you don't have an hour to do yoga, just give yourself a minute and really listen to your body because our minds are always working. If we just listen to our body a
Mhm.
little bit, I know I can sense so much more that now than 8 years ago. I can
Mhm.
listen to my body and I know if someone needs it. And just me learning to help as many people as I can.
Hmm. I
So
love
I don't
that.
really
That's
have a
beautiful.
specific, this is how much it costs. No, because our bodies are, like I said, really important. They're just so smart. And I'm willing to
Yeah.
help anyone with whatever budget they got going on.
Okay, which is lovely and kind, and you're doing it, I think a lot of us do this all for the right reasons, and you are doing it
Yeah.
clearly because you feel passionately about it. So, folks, here's the thing. If you wanted to connect with Launora and work with her,
Mhm.
it sounds like she can do that, and we'll have your information in the show notes so people can connect with you. And
Sure.
folks, if you can pay her more, please do, because you've got bills to pay. But it sounds
Yes.
like
Yes.
you have a genuine situation where you cannot, then there might
Right.
be some forgiveness for that as well, because
Sure.
you get the value of this. So, Launora Jusufi, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. Folks, check out Lenora. How can they find you, by the way? What is the best way to find you?
They can email me. They can find me on my website, which I can provide as well. I'm on all socials, Calm Breathe Yoga. Again, I can write that out, email it to you, and you can post that anywhere. But yeah, you can contact me via email or my social media.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
folks, please do. Lenora, if you can't see her, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple or wherever else you get your podcasts, Lenora has a very calm, soothing, kind presence, but also I sense strength and true wisdom. So thank you for sharing all of that with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. And folks, thank you for joining us. So glad to have you here. Please join us again next time. We'll look forward to having you. Be well.